Hi guys, welcome back. I took quite a hiatus from this book channel. I started making book videos in the beginning of the year. I had to focus on basically relearning French for quite a few months, but after that phase, my reading really picked up, and I'm happy to report that I already reached my Goodreads reading goal for this year. So I wanted to read 35 books, and I'm now at 42 or 41, and I might even hit 50 this year, and that would make it the best reading year in a lot of years for me. But yeah, I thought a book haul would be a fun and quite casual way to going back to making videos. And I don't have opaque curtains in my living room, so I'm gonna be in a little bit of an angelic lightning situation for the video, but that's okay. First, I want to show you books that I got from two used bookstores that I discovered this year, and honestly, I can't wait to go back. It's so much fun to just browse through the aisles and all the books and see if you find books there that spike your interest or you already have in your TBR. It's just that I'm really trying to limit the amount of books that I have on my shelves that are unread, so before I go and buy new books, there's a certain amount of books I want to have read before. First, I picked up Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I think it's considered a modern classic. It's about a group of young, I think preteen boys that are stranded at an island, and that's when they have to learn how to survive on their own. But a very toxic group dynamic forms, and it basically brings out the worst in all these boys. When I was in 9th grade, my school put out a play of this story, so I do remember parts of what happened, but for example, I don't even know how this book ends. But I've never read any parts of the actual book, so I'm quite interested to see how this book was written, and also how the young boys are characterized, because that's kind of hit and miss whenever you read a book about teenagers, especially preteens. That's kind of a tricky thing. Then I picked up Charlotte's Web by E.E. White. I think this is a book about the friendship between a spider and a pig, if I'm not mistaken. It's quite short. I mean, it is meant for children, and there's a few illustrations in here like this. Essentially, it's going to be a very quick read, but from what I heard of the story, it's quite touching, so we'll see if it's going to be a tearjerker. Then I found another well-known book that has been on my TBR for a longer time. It's Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. I think this is technically sci-fi, which is great because I didn't get around to reading a lot of sci-fi and fantasy this year, and I really want to change it for 2022. This book is about a person called Charlie Gordon. He has a very, very low IQ, and there's this experiment that scientists did with a mouse where they were able to increase the IQ of this mouse called Algernon, and they now want to apply it to Charlie. And at first it works. Charlie's mental capabilities seem to grow, but the mouse seems to deteriorate after a while, and the question is if that will also happen to Charlie. And if I'm not mistaken, this is written from Charlie's point of view. I read the first sentences of the first chapter, and it looks like there's a lot of spelling and grammar mistakes, which I guess is a reflection of his struggles. And next I have Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. In this story, you follow a theater group in a post-apocalyptic world, and that is all I know about this book, to be honest. I usually try going into my books knowing as little as possible. I often don't even read the summary on the back of the books, but for the sake of this video, I did it for some. But I think for this kind of story, it sounds more interesting if I just keep an open mind. But what I did see was there is, I think, an HBO show or an HBO movie coming out about this, so I guess it's a very good time to pick this up before watching the show. And lastly, from the $1 section, I picked up The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. I've never read anything from Mark Twain before, and I didn't realize that this is technically part 2 of the story. So I did get The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. It's following the friendship and the lives, and I guess kind of the coming of age of these two boys. Yeah, and this one has quite a bit of charm. It's like one of those books where the pages started to yellow already, but it's in pretty good condition, and it was only $1. This is really sunny. I hope you can see me. Next, I picked up 2 books from Costco, which this is the first time that I bought books from there, but I thought the deals were quite good. So first I got Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this year I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The year before that I read Daisy Jones and the Six, and I liked both of those books a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this for the summer because I think of the setting, it's quite more fitting to read it in a hot climate rather than at minus 30 degrees Celsius in the winter. And this story takes place in the 80s. You're following the Riva siblings, and these siblings throw their annual huge rager party, but the next day their house is on fire. And if this is in any way like Daisy Jones and the Six and the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, you're going to be submerged in the family drama and very much feel like these were real characters in the 80s that you want to look up on the internet and, you know, check out photos or videos of them, because that's how I felt about Daisy and, not Eleanor, Evelyn. And also from Costco, I picked up Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And this one you can see on the back of the book, I already read, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. And in this story, you follow Eleanor, who's the out-of-the-ordinary heroine. So Eleanor lives alone. She doesn't really have family or friends. She is lacking social skills, and at work, she doesn't seem to really fit in until one day something unusual happens in her day-to-day life, and she starts to befriend Raymond from her IT department. And from there, you follow how her very much set in her ways day-to-day routine kind of starts to break up a little, and you learn why she is the way she is now. This is definitely much deeper than your introverted girl, you know, turning into a swan kind of story. It takes you places emotionally and, you know, just within the story that you don't really expect. And then I ordered 2 books from Book Depository because I wanted to read these in German, which is my first language. So first I got Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. And I mean, look how chunky this book is. This is gonna be like the big project for 2022. Russian classic. Again, not too sure what this is exactly about. I know that it's about Anna Karenina. I think in one of the movie versions, she's played by Keira Knightley. I'm expecting this book to be about Anna Karenina, but also about her family spanning, I'm guessing, decades of their lives. But yeah, this is going to be a big, big accomplishment. I've never read any Russian literature before, so this is going to be an interesting one. And I got a second Russian classic by author Mikhail Bulgakov, and this is The Master and Margarita. This sounded so interesting for me and kind of different from what you would expect from a classic, I would say. And this story takes place in Moscow in the 1930s, where Satan comes to town and wreaks all kinds of havoc and chaos. More closely, you follow 2 people. One of them is a man. He's an author who is in a madhouse. And then Margarita, who was once his lover. And this seems to be, it says, a satire about the Soviet Union at the same time. So that concept just really intrigued me, and I heard really good things about this. And maybe I'll start with this one before I move on to Anna Karenina, since this is, it seems like, yeah, half the size of Anna Karenina. And lastly, from Chapters, or here you call it Indigo, I picked up Elantris, or is it Elantris, by Brandon Sanderson. So I started reading the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson last year, and I absolutely loved it. I can't wait for the 3rd book. I already read the first of 2 novellas that you have to read before the 3rd book comes out this month. And I just really want to start diving into the Mistborn series, Stormlight Archives, etc., etc. And I decided for myself that I'm going to start by reading Elantris. And in this world, one day a person can wake up and is suddenly a god. And after that transformation, what you do is you move to Elantris, where you live in wisdom and are just worshipped by everybody. Something changes and the city seems to fall apart. I think I'm going to dive into this book either today or tomorrow. I can't wait. I also hear that this is not his best writing. I mean, I already read Skyward, so it's not like if I read this and I'm kind of about the writing and about the story, it's not like I'm going to be turned off to read the Mistborn trilogy next, the First Era Mistborn trilogy, because I already know from Skyward that that Brandon Sanderson's writing can be pretty amazing, his story and his characters. So these were the books I picked up from the secondhand bookshop Costco and Chapters. I am super excited about pretty much all of them, and I hope that I will get to at least 90% of them in the next year. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.